Donald Trump recently increased the number of tariffs or number of products from China that will have to deal with taxes through trade. And China has responded by saying that it will continue to retaliate against these tariffs. Now, to be specific, America's trade deficit in goods and services with China was about $335.4 billion in 2017. In August, though, it grew by another $31 billion, meaning that Beijing exported 31 billion more goods to the U.S. that month than the U.S. sent the other way. Now, this is all incredibly important information for you to know about because it proves that these tariffs are not working. China has not conceded in doing anything that Trump wants to do. In fact, they've doubled down. They've added more tariffs to retaliate. And the people who will suffer are US consumers because many products are either manufactured in China and then brought here to the United States, or US-based companies that manufacture products here rely on Chinese parts to be imported to the United States so they can make their products. So as a result, manufacturers are gonna spend more money on manufacturing. And so the cost will be transferred to us, the consumers. And recently, Wilbur Ross was asked about this. You know, is this good policy? Isn't this horrible for consumers? And here's what he had to say.
Average American family making $50,000 a year, let's say, how much do you expect these tariffs will impact them? Meaning, have you done the math?
Well, you can do the numbers this way. If you have a 10% tariff on another 200 billion, that's 20 billion a year. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of 1% total inflation in the US. Because it's spread over thousands and thousands of products, nobody's gonna actually notice it at the end of the day.
So he believes that the middle class and the working class in the United States will not feel this. Keep in mind that Wilbur Ross might feel that way because he is worth $2.9 billion. So he doesn't understand what it's like to be an American who has a household income of $51,000. Apple has already responded to Trump after he claimed that, you know, maybe Apple will manufacture everything here in the United States so they don't have to deal with the tariffs. They responded by saying, no, we're gonna increase our prices, so consumers will have to pay more.
Yeah, it doesn't work the way that Wilbur Ross explained it. God help us. This guy's the Commerce Secretary. And so it's not like, since it affected the overall economy by a small percentage, then Apple will only raise their price by less than a cent. No, Apple is directly affected, so they are affected way more than the average of the entire economy. There are parts of the economy that are not affected, and that affects your overall average. So the price of Apple is going to go up significantly, the iPhones, etc. Air conditioning prices have already gone up. Steel prices have already gone up, and it's not by 1%. I think the reason the CNBC anchor goaded him that way is because he knew he'd make news. Because Ross has said this on 2 different occasions earlier, where he made a claim that it's only going to go up by 0.3 of 1 cent or 0.6 of 1 cent. So he's like, "Oh, tell us about the math." He's like, "Watch this idiot embarrass himself again." That's not how it works. It goes industry by industry. When their prices are affected, they increase prices on those particular products.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of dumbbells running the country. So meanwhile, on the other hand, China is going around brilliantly isolating us. So you know how many countries are down to recognizing Taiwan? We think Taiwan should be recognized as its own country. China thinks it should be part of one China. We're down to 17 countries. El Salvador just pulled out. And what is China doing? They're going around, they're providing economic benefits to people. And another thing that you don't hear about, and this is really interesting, they're providing aid all across the world. Here in America, we go, "Oh, don't give anybody any international aid. It's a stupid idea. We should just keep everything," right? You know how much aid China is giving to the rest of the world? According to their plans, $1 trillion. $1 trillion to the rest of the world. Now, you think the Chinese government is doing that for the health of El Salvador? No, they're doing it to gain allies because it benefits them. And now that Trump is withdrawing from the world stage, he's withdrawing the United States, China has now stepped up. After we withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord, China stepped in and said, we will now lead the world in fighting against climate change. And then After Trump attacked our allies in Europe and throughout the world, China steps up every time and says, that's okay, we are the new global leader. And by the way, we got $1 trillion in aid to help you out to back that up. And next thing you know, China starts winning more agreements and more votes, whether it's in the United Nations or anything else, because they are actually acting in a way that is rational for their self-interest, whereas we have a bunch of goddamn dumbbells running this country. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.